Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I am finally getting to share with you guys my last Daler and Rowney piece. This was actually the second piece that I did for them, but I'm releasing it last because I was just kind of waiting to figure out a little bit about what I wanted to talk about in this video. And I really like this piece, so I wanted to make sure that I was happy with that idea. So I am going to be using the Daler Rowney System 3 inks for this. Daler Rowney, in case you guys don't know, hired me to create some videos for their social media, but I was also thankfully allowed to share them on my social media as well. And I just have a different voiceover and kind of talk about some different stuff. But if you're interested in a lot more about some of the inks and things like that, you can see the video with the other voiceover on their Facebook page. So I'll link that down below if you're interested in checking that out. But today I'm going to talk about this painting, and I'm going to kind of focus a little bit on painting on wood and other surfaces, because one of the things that I talked to Daler Rowney about highlighting was the fact that the System 3 inks are, like, you can use them on all different kinds of surfaces because they're acrylic inks. And if you saw my last video, I also used acrylic inks. I used their FW line. So they have two lines, FW and the System 3, and the System 3 is super opaque. It's like way more opaque than the FW ranges. I know so much about these lines now. It's like actually ridiculous. So these are like super opaque inks, but they're kind of made for mixed media, so I really wanted to test that out. So I love painting on wood, but I haven't done it in a really, really long time. I painted on wood when there's this really cool show in Colorado. It's called Portobello, and you paint a skateboard, and then there's this whole display, and they're auctioned off, and it's really, really cool. It's really, really fun, and I participated in that when I was, I think, 23, and I painted on a skateboard. And for me, I actually sanded down the skateboard and I watercolored on top of it because I wanted to see that grain kind of coming through, and I loved that look so much, but I haven't gone back to it. I don't really know why. And so for this one, I was so excited. So I chose a board that had some kind of, like, it had the bark on the edges, which I really, really loved. And if you're going to use a board like this, the board with like the bark on the edges, one of the first things that I highly recommend that you do is put some varnish or sealant or something on the edges, because for me the bark was just like flaking off everywhere before I even, like, just moving it around, the bark was going everywhere, and I put some varnish on the edges, and that totally held it together and glued it together and made it a lot more manageable, because I cannot imagine how messy it would have been painting if I hadn't done that. Then you can go and sand your board if you want a smoother surface. I didn't really bother because it was already like a really nice smooth surface, and I was going over it with acrylics, but you can definitely sand it down, especially if there's any kind of finish. You really don't want any kind of finish or like varnish on it. You want just like raw wood. And then once you've done that, there's a bunch of different things that you can do with wood. You can go ahead and just like gesso it and prime it and use it as you would a regular canvas. But what I wanted to do was I really wanted to combine some of the different qualities that I could use these inks for. So as you saw in the background a little while ago, because I've been kind of talking about some of the other stuff, I went in with really watered down paint or ink, this is ink, watered down ink, and then I built that up wet on wet, using it kind of like I would use a watercolor. And the really, really fun thing about this technique is that it kind of soaks into the board, so you get that wood grain showing through your paint, and it's so beautiful. I love transparent paint on wood. It's just absolutely gorgeous. You can really see the wood grain shine. It's essentially just like staining the wood. So I really wanted to start with that for the background. But to contrast with that, you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, I'm a big fan of juxtaposition and contrasting, especially thin paint and thick paint, that kind of visual texture. So I wanted to go for that with these inks. So after I kind of did that watercolory background, I started building up the rest of it in a much more opaque way, which you can do with these inks. They're basically like thin acrylic paints, to be honest. So when I created the mock-up for this, and I will put the mock-up on the screen if you guys are interested, this is kind of how I've been developing these paintings. I create a digital mock-up in Procreate, and I go through and I kind of collage all of these different photos and elements together, and I'll add in there's going to be any line art, I'll add that in, and I will color adjust so I can really play with colors. So for this one, I color adjusted more than I ever have in either of the two pieces that you guys have seen. In the past two pieces, I have really tried to push my colors, especially in the skin tone. I like playing with that and doing things that are a little bit different. And for this one, I went really hardcore, and the skin is essentially green and purple. It's lit green and purple, and I think it came out so cool and just so... I really like the warm shadows and then the green highlights because it kind of pushes and pulls with your eye. Warm colors are going to pull forward a little bit more, and cool colors are going to recede a little bit more. So when you flip those and you use cool colors for the highlight and warm colors for the shadow, it can create this really interesting visual dynamic where it's both flattening out, but also there's that three-dimensionality to it. And that's something that I find very, very interesting and always like to use in my work. Also, by the way, painting these succulents was just... Succulents are so hard to paint, you guys. I don't know why, but they are so hard. And it was definitely a learning curve, but now I feel like I can do the succulents, man. Like, I can paint all the succulents. So that was kind of where I started building some of this stuff up. That's what my mock-up looked like. And I use photos that I've already taken. I generally use all my own photos. And one of the things that I'll do for inspiration, I don't even necessarily have an idea when I start. I'll just pick a photo that I like, whether it's a selfie or just like a random photo that I took, and I'll start playing with that and adding in some other photos that I like and just start moving things around and playing with colors and seeing what I get and what I really am drawn to. And for this one, it really was that green and purple and some of those teals and blues. The color scheme was really driving me, and I wanted this like explosion of succulents coming out of her backpack, because I love succulents so much. And so the title of this piece is called, I believe it's called Desert Delusion. I was just kind of thinking about sort of this dreamlike, very delirious sort of daydream. Like, everything is weird colors and there's like plants, and I don't know, it's just kind of supposed to be a little bit more out there, I guess. I've just been really enjoying playing with all of these different techniques and elements, and it's just making me so happy, you guys. It's making me so happy, and I really hope that you guys are liking what I'm creating with it. But that aside, I did want to talk about painting on wood. So like I said, did the thin and then built up the thick, and when you start adding in that thickness, I mean, it really is just like painting on any canvas, except for it's smoother. You don't have to worry about canvas texture showing through. So I'm definitely going to be painting on wood more often in the future. And I would really encourage you guys to try painting on different surfaces if you haven't already. If you're used to just painting on canvas, or if you're used to just painting on paper, I think it's really good. And I always encourage this in my videos, is to like push your boundaries and get out of your comfort zone. But it is so fun to try a different medium, like a different surface than you've never tried before, because it can really open up new techniques for you that you maybe haven't even thought about, and that you can just like discover as you go. And there's so many different surfaces that you can paint on, you know. Wood especially is a very common one and a really easy one to get into if you are interested in experimenting with other surfaces. Wood is a really, really great one, and wood is really affordable. If you just go to Michael's or Joann's, they have whole sections of wood crafts, and they have all these different wood plaques and boards and things like that, and they really do look so, so nice, and you get all these different shapes. It's just fun. It's fun to paint on wood, and I've done it a few times, but I need to do it more. But there's also, you can paint on fabric, paint on your clothes, paint on your jeans, you know, paint on your shoes. Paint on a hydro flask, as my girls Chloe and Mira and Sarah have been doing. You know, there's so many things that you can paint on, and when you challenge yourself to go out of your comfort zone, you can discover so many new things that inspire you. Metal is a really fun one. I haven't actually painted on metal or glass myself yet, but I've seen some amazing results come out of painting on metal especially. So that's something that you can definitely look into if you're interested in painting unique surfaces and things like that, because it's just fun, and it feels like, I don't know, it feels more exciting, I guess. Like, you're just doing something different, and it's nice. It's nice to explore, and I think there's maybe a little bit less of a learning curve than when you're using a brand new medium. maybe that's not true, but I feel like that's true. And these paints, by the way, these System 3 ones, they actually cling to like anything, the inks do, because I got some jars from Hobby Lobby with bamboo lids, and the lids had a varnish or a sealant on them, and I just painted these right over the top because honestly I was way too lazy to sand them, like to find my sandpaper, because this was just like a personal project. And they actually stuck to it really well. Like that was me pulling one of the jars out, if you heard that clink, but I haven't really had any issues with them fading or chipping. They still look really nice and they dry really shiny. By the way, disclaimer time, this is not a sponsored video, but Daler Rowney did hire me to do their videos for their social media, and I was sent all these products for free. So just so you guys know, with me talking about the products, I just want to be 100% honest about that. But I do genuinely, I've loved Daler Rowney since I was like a kid. They're a very big brand in England, and so I grew up using their products. So I have always liked their products. So I do really love all their inks. I use them in college too. But yeah, that's kind of my connection with that, because I really try to be honest with you guys. I know there's a lot of skepticism out there on YouTube about sponsorships and things like that, or PR, whatever it is. Like, how do you know if somebody's being honest or that kind of stuff? And I just want you guys to know that I do try very, very hard to be completely forthright about any biases that I might have, any sponsorships that I do. And when I do take sponsorships, I try very hard to only take sponsorships from companies that I genuinely enjoy or have worked with before. And when I do product reviews or product sponsorships, I do try to always test them and get them in advance. And then I will only kind of create videos if I feel like they're a product that you guys would genuinely enjoy, like the Art and Fly markers. They sent me quite a few other things, but I really just enjoyed the alcohol markers, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys. So I don't know. I just went on a little tangent right there. This video is a little scattered, but it's been a while since I've sat down and done a video where I've really kind of talked about my art and my process. And while, I know those videos are not as popular on YouTube anymore, I still really find them helpful. They're the videos that I like to watch because that's what I learn from as an artist, is learning about other people's processes and hearing them talk about it and see it. So, maybe they're not as popular on YouTube anymore, but I still like them. And I hope that you guys still like them as well and find value in them, because maybe I'll make some more. With this piece, some things I want to talk about with this piece, since I've kind of talked about the surfaces thing, I'm kind of going to just talk about the piece now. So I was doing this thing with the shadows and the highlights where in the original image that you guys saw, the reference image, I shifted underneath and on top the actual silhouette of the character, and I put one on multiply and I made the other white. So you can kind of see actually right now in the arm, it kind of overlaps a little bit, the shadow, and then the shadow actually cuts in to the skin in some areas. You can see that in the bottom of the hand, it cuts into the hand, and a couple other areas. So that was something that I was experimenting with and playing with. I think in the future, I might need to be more dramatic with that effect so that it doesn't look quite as accidental, because I think in some places, especially the hand, it could look a little accidental. I'm sorry if you heard the dog just come into my art room. So that was something that I was really playing with, but I'm really enjoying adding in these lines and this kind of some drop shadows and things like that, and the way that they kind of contrast the flat areas and the line art, the way that they look with all of the different elements in the piece. I've really been enjoying that. It's just inspiring me so much, you guys. Also for the hoodie, I wanted to do, again, I've worked with this in a couple other pieces. In my summer piece, the pool piece, electric pool, I think it was called. That one has a flat, like water texture on the shirt. And this one I wanted to do more of a cloudy texture. And that was really, really fun. So these inks were a little hard for me to adjust to when I first started using them. I had a little bit of hard time blending when I first started, but by the end, when I had finished the piece, I definitely felt like I'd adjusted to it a lot more. It was just like a little bit of a learning curve. Once I figured it out, I was like, yeah, these are fun. I kind of want to combine all the different inks and kind of see what I can do with that. Like maybe combining the Aquafine ones and the System 3. I want to use the Aquafines again. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've been super psyched to use those, so I think those will show up in a video again soon. Okay, this is it. That's the video. I hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that you enjoyed it. Maybe you learned some techniques, or maybe you got inspired to work on a different surface. But I hope that you guys liked this video. I will see you on Tuesday with another Sketchy Tuesday. Super excited. I think that's it. Oh, I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful holiday, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. It really does help me out. I'd love to hear what other surfaces you guys have worked on and what recommendations you have. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you so, so much. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.